Welcome CNG124 to the Friday, kind of a late midweek check-in, but just want to go over a few things. When you get your kit, should probably include a wire, some sort of wire stripper, termination tool, a RJ45 piece, maybe some scissors, and I do apologize for those the confusion at the bookstore. Somehow they were only here on this Larimer campus and not at every campus for you guys to get. And then I also forgot to add them to the syllabus, so thanks for understanding the mix-up. There's always little hiccups with the first time in classes running online. So with your piece, probably since it's your first time, or maybe it's your first time, allow yourself about a 2-inch lead. Make sure not to cut all the way through the cable. You see how I kind of broke it there. Then you want to visually inspect the wires. And this lab will probably last us, we'll probably do this a few times throughout the semester if you don't get it right the first time. And then after I get that little piece of string cut out of there, I'm going to visually inspect, my finger out of the way there. I'm going to visually inspect these wires to make sure that I did not nick the wire. If I did nick the wires, that is a chance for the wire itself to break. At that point, if we're bending the wires, we're going to be bending the wires trying to straighten them. But that point could be a cause of failure. And as the face-to-face students learn that even the smallest nick can lead to troubles when you're trying to test your wire out. So then second step or third step, I don't know what you want to call it, would be to untangle the wire down to, but not past, the blue cladding. And then you see me kind of straightening the wires. And this is much longer than I need, but for our purposes, it's easier to learn with. So here we have all the wires straightened, each to their relative pair still, but not in any exact order. The next step is probably the most difficult step. On my screen, the orange is here. Looks like to be the right, but on your screen it might be the left. I need to figure out a way to get these in somewhat in order, so even if I just twist the wire, reposition the wire slightly, I can make it so that the orange is on the left, brown can go to the right, and then start my termination. Blue or green, blues, browns, and oranges. So then once I get them close to the right, I start to straighten them out. And then I try to push back, try to push down. Hopefully this is a good enough camera. Try to push down the bends still, so I work them as far as I can to the bottom. Then I grab my scissors. I've done this a lot of times, so probably won't see me measure. And then when I place the RJ45 on, it'll be tabbed down. My number 1 wire will be on my left, so my orange, white will be on my left. My brown will be on my right, and I can see that it already jumped places. So make sure that brown gets on the outside. Make sure you're following the diagrams of A or B. There we go. Much better. And then when I get them in there, I want to make sure that the blue cladding is underneath that pinch point. So when I go to terminate this, it terminates well. And then I have a wire you can kind of see where the blue cladding is underneath there. It's under the pinch point here. All my wires are at the end. If I was to look at it a head-on style, I would also see that there is bright copper at the ends, and that would be terminating one side of it. Once again, when you do finish this, make sure to drop it off at your local campus and have them either mail it to me, or you can mail it to me through snail mail. My address should be on the syllabus. And if not, I can load up my card. I don't see it. Okay. So the address here at the campus is 4616 South Shield Street. My office is BP 157B. That'd be Fort Collins, Colorado, 80526. And that'll get your cable here. I'll visually inspect it. I'll give you feedback, probably on a written sheet, and to help you guys get some of the problems discussed. Let's go back to the discussions there. That it was difficult. Week 4 reflections. The cables will difficult to get in order. Yeah, that is a difficulty in this course. I've also had students that couldn't complete this lab and quit the course at this time. I would encourage you not to drop the class just because you can't get the cable on the first time. I've been cabling for quite a while, so it's relatively easy for me because I figured out a way that works for myself. There are YouTube videos out there that show you how to make cables. All have different styles, but all the very same concept when you make your own cable. Just make sure you're visually inspecting it. I think the blue underneath that pinch point of the RJ45 is probably the most important thing, and then making sure all your cable wires then are completely at the end, and then pinched by the brass. Use your testers to test it out afterwards, and make sure you visually inspect your cable too. I'll send it back, probably with some spare parts if you do mess up, just to make sure you can get the cable correctly, done correctly. I like, one of the first jobs I had was actually cabling. It wasn't a horrible job. I was left by myself for most of the day. Went room to room and terminated cable ends. Worked in telecommunications closets for, I don't know, 8 hours at a time some days. Just listening to my headphones and my iPad, and basically just terminated all day long. It was a cool job, I thought. Didn't really interact with anybody, but definitely just sat there and made cables all day. Hope you take that advice this weekend. Once again, I don't think Lab 4, we're going to push that due date out for Lab 4 a little while, just to make sure that I'll pick a piece. When you're done with your piece, send it in to me. I'll verify it and send it back if it needs corrections. And we'll kind of work like that in completing Lab 4. Have a good weekend. Make sure to get started on your lab. I'll check in again this weekend.